You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just...
You guys hear that?
Dallas, I'm done with this. Let's just go get our shit and leave.
What's that noise? What's that sound?
Dallas. What are you talking about?
It's coming from the caves.
Not, you're not going.
As a matter of fact, that was.
No more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
What's up, Harbor Fiends? It's your boy, Ricky Grimes. And guess what? It ain't JR. We got the beautiful Angel from Voices from the Mausoleum. She's going to be filling in. JR, get well. He ain't doing too good today. But thank you, Angel, for coming on. I know you were scheduled, but what a episode to have you on. Really appreciate you, taking time out and joining me and Joe the psychologist. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. I mean, anything found footage and cryptids, that kind of stuff's like right up my alley. So
Awesome.
this was like a no-brainer, right?
I know, it's perfect. When I was watching this movie, I'm like, cryptid, Angel.
If I can be known for those two things forever, that'll be good. That and werewolves.
And it's found footage too, so.
Yeah, so it's like checks a lot of boxes. Yeah.
And of course, we got the wonderful Joe the psychologist, that sexy man. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Yeah, you guys owe me. I mean, remember, I have ranitophobia. I'm terrified of frogs, and I had to be put through a movie where you constantly seem to always hear them. But I'll let you know my thoughts on it. Besides Ribbit.
What we will be discussing tonight is the 2023 film Frogman. Directed by Anthony Cousins, the film stars Nathan Timoshuk as Dallas, Benny Barrett as Scotty, Chelsea Grant as Amy. Now, we all are fans of cryptids and the unknown. So, Angel, I'm going to throw it to you first. If you were presented with this opportunity, would you go looking for the Loveland creature known as Frogman?
I kind of have like two sides to this because I feel like if I had seen, what he sees in the beginning, that first little clip that we get, probably not. Because I think I would be a little skeptical to learn more than I could, bite off more than I could chew. But running along like the thought process that I don't think that most cryptids actually exist. I believe there's a possibility that certain ones do. I don't think this is one that's real. And so I'd be like, yeah, why not? Let's go hang out and try to find the frogman. But it would be under the premise of like, we're not going to find anything and this is dumb, but I'll do it anyway because it would be like a fun trip, like to do with friends, I guess.
I love the fact that you mentioned it all stemmed from the footage from the beginning. When I watched it, it just looked like a big frog.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, all right, why would I think that's like an
It didn't
actual
look
monster?
like a giant frog. It just
Maybe because the
like
scale, the scaling maybe compared to
Maybe.
whatever else is around them. But on film,
Yeah.
it looked like it was just a big bullfrog.
Yeah, because it's like at an angle, like he's looking down into a bank and it's supposed to be like,
Yeah.
and then obviously later it's a lot bigger. So I felt like, I don't know, like when Steve and I talked about it on Found Footage Fridays, and he was like, he didn't even know that this was a real cryptid. And I was like, no, it's a real cryptid. Like it's existed before the movie. But yeah, we talked about the fact that like it was like, was it like a young frog?
Yeah.
Ooh, like,
I forgot about that. Yeah, it's a good call.
maybe, I don't know.
I'll take, you know what? That's plausible, and I'm going to run with that.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, I don't even got to ask you this question, but, to be fair, I'm going to ask you anyway. Would you?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Oh, yes. No. It just says frog in it. Right? I'm not gonna bother going anywhere with frogs, only
Just in
because, automatically, which is what you got in this movie, as they're searching through, you're gonna hear frogs,
Mhm.
and I'm literally. So I was watching it in the living room, and in case I haven't told you guys before, my surround sound system, the speakers go to the kitchen, and I even have a speaker in the bathroom. I have 13 speakers in total. So listening to this in surround sound was not cool. It's like
He was knee deep in the swamp.
oh my, and I'm like sitting there like, all right, nope. I hit pause. Came into the guest room. I laid down so I could just hear it on the speaker on the TV because the immersion
Too
that they
much.
gave you, yeah, it was like I'm sitting here like it was like this is not cool. But I watch enough horror movies to know that anytime some of these that we watch is because three people thought it would be fun to just go ahead and look for something, and then we
Yeah.
get to see your movie and you died. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to be. I'd rather go be the one who said, yeah, they invited me, even though they know I don't like frogs, and I quickly said no. And then they told me we're going to be camping, so that's a double no
Double
because I've never slept in a tent. No, I mean I'm scared of a cabin in the woods. You try to get me in a tent is never going to happen. I guarantee that. I'm 51 years old and I have never set foot inside a tent and do not plan to.
I would be all over this Frogman legend if I was the one that got, if I was in Dallas, nah, maybe not Dallas, but if I found out about there's a Frogman where I live, oh, I'm all about it. Listen, I'm in Connecticut. The lady in white is huge here.
And the melon heads.
And the melon heads,
Thank you
right?
for saying that. I was gonna point that out too
Are we
Yeah.
gonna go?
because
So are we gonna go looking for the melon heads when I come up and visit?
listen, when I was younger, I went looking for Lady in White and the Melonheads, bro. Until one day, this strange car approached us in the middle of nowhere. Joe, what did you think of the actual reveal for Frogman? Like, was that something where you expecting that? Because, this guy Dallas, obviously, years later, is ridiculed,
Oh
and he's
yeah.
he's getting trolled online consistently about the Frogman that he had recorded, and he became a filmmaker, and his movies weren't too good, so he could have taken, you know what, fuck it, I'm tired of being the laughing
Yeah.
stock, I'm gonna go find this guy. He went,
Prove it.
he found him. And what did you think about that?
Um, I will say the design was actually pretty cool. I did like the design, and then I said, "Fuck that shit." Like, honestly, if that shit would have came out and you would have been like, Joe, you would have just seen a cloud of dust. I got my flash shirt on because I would have fucking ran out of there. I'm sorry. I love you. If you don't come out of the fucking woods, I'll let everybody know that you said you love them, even though you didn't tell me that. But I'm gonna say, as the frog, took his tongue out and started dragging you away. When I started dragging that girl away, I'm like, yeah, no, this is not good. I'm like,
How about the
like I wasn't
tadpoles? Did that bother you too, the tadpoles?
the I don't. I'm okay with tadpoles because I used to catch them
I had
until
tadpoles.
I was told that they were frogs, and then I stopped touching them because because again, the fear of frogs is an irrational fear. I then started getting afraid that because they were so little, and then they kind of look like sperm, that they can go inside you. So I did not touch them anymore after that because I was afraid one might burrow in me,
And
and then a
impregnate
frog.
you?
Well, the frog will grow in me.
Oh,
So yeah,
worse.
no, I stopped. Yeah, no, but I thought the reveal was cool. Like it wasn't cheesy. It wasn't,
Mhm.
it because there's a little couple questions I have on it. Um, especially with the wand. Is this like magical or is it an alien?
Yeah. So I went into this relatively blind. I didn't watch a trailer or anything. I had seen the poster, and I honestly, like, people were kind of hyping it a little bit. The couple people I follow that are like really into found footage were like, "Oh my god, this was so good." And I was like, "You know what? It's a cryptid. It's probably going to be awful. It's probably going to be super silly and dumb and look bad, but I'm just going to try it anyway. And so I went into it expecting silly, like cheesy, poorly done. Like that was my expectation. Because to me, when you say frogman, I don't think scary. I'd actually forgotten that Joe had a frog thing. I forgot about that. But like for me, like I was thinking it was just going to be this like over the top silly thing and it was going to irritate me. And then we get that first shot at the beginning, again, like what you were saying earlier, where it's like super unclear. You can't really tell what you're looking at. It just looks like a big frog. It doesn't,
Yeah.
no, the reveal, I think, was the moment in the film where I was like, okay, this is something. Because like I wasn't humored at all. I was incredibly uncomfortable. The practical effects on the design I thought were beautifully executed for a cryptid found footage movie. Um, I've seen some bad ones and usually Bigfoot ones, but I thought it looked really, really good. The only thing I kind of had like a with was the wand, but I think a lot of people were saying that this was kind of supposed to be comedic. And I don't know if all of that just went like over my head
I
or
didn't find no
what,
comedy in this
Yeah, I
movie.
found
but I
Scotty
didn't.
was the funny part, of
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
But
there were like little human moments that were like, huh? But like, there were people like talking about it being like a comedy horror, and I was like, is it though? Because
No.
I didn't laugh a lot, but I did think that the one thing was a little much. It did take away a little bit, but overall, like if I ran into something that looked like that, I would be terrified. I would be so uncomfortable. This is like a monster frog, and it's
yeah,
frogs to me normally are these cute little things and it's bright colors. You don't touch them, but they're cute. But that thing was not cute. And then exactly like what Joe said, when you add the tongue and what he's doing to these people, I was like, oh my God, this went in a totally different direction than I thought it was going to go. And I was very pleasantly surprised and happy with that. Like
Sorry.
I'm like, we need more like good cryptid found footage, because there's only like 2 of those that exist besides this one. One of them's called Exist, actually.
I
But
was
it
just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Good shot.
I went in my head. Exists.
Exists, yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Like I was watching it in my living room and I literally was like, okay. Like I was very pleasantly surprised because I expected to be annoyed and I was not. I thought it looked really good.
I loved how you brought up practical because
Yeah.
this film was pretty much for the most part. I was at 80% practical, like the frog effects,
It was a majority of it, yeah.
the eggs, like
Just a little bit of editing. Wasn't much.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was done really well, and I love the fact
Totally
that they
agree.
went that way. I'd rather have it look a little cheesy but practical than CGI
Yes.
and like all over the
Oh, I'm
place.
with you. Yeah.
I love the fact that they could have went with like this hybrid of a humanoid, but they actually made him a giant frog.
A frog that walked on its back legs straight up.
Yeah, exactly.
I would die if a frog stood up, like literally on its legs straight up, because that should not happen. And so
Die.
seeing it that big, if
Oh my
one of those
God.
frogs just all of a sudden got its hind leg, I mean, I'd run anyway. You
Yeah,
already know.
But the other aspect that I really loved about it was, unlike
Mhm.
other found footage films, most of the times when they're looking for cryptids or the monster, you don't get it. You get glimpses and a
Yes.
lot of like abrupt
Yes.
camera editing, so you could
Yep.
have your mind put it together. No. For this movie went all the way with it,
It
and
did.
I appreciate that. No
Yeah.
matter what I feel about the rest of the film or whatever, I love the fact, besides the practical effects, that they went and said, "Fuck it, It's called Frogman. We're gonna own up to it." And the
Yeah.
fact that you mentioned it's not really comedy. There was comical elements, like when he's
Mhm.
interviewing the locals. And
That one guy.
I had mentioned earlier when he was talking to the female, and she's like, "How do you know he's a man?" And he's
Yeah.
like, "Well, could we all just agree he's a frog?" Like,
So there might have been some social commentary humor in there.
yeah,
But
I loved all that. The
Yeah.
one guy that was like, "Wait, it's a cult?" No, I'm not part of that. But yeah, I guess
Yeah.
he was. But and that one random guy, what he kept saying, the guy that just randomly kept showing
The one
up.
that kept showing up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what the hell?
He's like, oh wait, I remembered something else. Yeah.
And speaking of kept showing up, that guy George, who comes near the end, just pops up out of nowhere, disguised and shoots the frog.
Oh
Man. Where
yes.
the fuck this
Yeah.
guy come from? I guess he had his granddaughter or something. She was
They
the one
did.
that was
He ran
in
the
the egg.
store.
Yeah.
The store that
Yeah,
so
but we didn't know he was down there though. It
No,
just
he
kind of
just
that part was like a
yeah. I was like, what the
little
fuck?
action
It
sequence.
turned into
Yeah.
a little bit of a Scooby Doo moment there, but now this film is definitely filled with a lot of twists and turns. Angel, how did you feel about the town's involvement? Is that something you picked up on earlier on in the film that you said, nah, they're involved somehow? Or did you, like, when you found out that the people behind this hoax, they're only doing this to attract tourists and people coming in and spending that bread, you know?
it's a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they lied about the frogman to bring in the tourists for the money, but nah, man, they really were worshiping that motherfucker. So, how did you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Um, I have been wanting like cult of things for like the longest time. Like in the last Halloween, I wanted like a cult of Michael Myers, and in the last Scream, I wanted like a cult of Ghostface. I was not mentally prepared for cult of
Uh,
Frogman, but I think it worked. I think it works because, like, talking about kind of social commentary, like some of these small towns, they thrive on their cryptid lore. Like the perfect example of that is West Virginia and the Mothman. Like that little town, there's like 350 people or so. It's not, it may be more than that, but it's a very
And
small
you
town.
yourself went. So you were
Yeah,
there.
I've been to it. Yeah.
Nice.
And so the Mothman Festival, and kind of in, they have a Mothman museum, and the guy that runs the Mothman Museum is the one that did the festival. And the festival brings in thousands of people every year to this little tiny town with this lore. And so I love the concept of like kind of incorporate, because that's, I mean, maybe not to the cult extent, but it's semi realistic. Did I expect that? Not really. Like when they saw the first time, when they saw the guy that was dressed in the suit, I was I was wondering where that was going to go, simply because it felt too early to see the real one in the movie, and I was kind of like, "Oh, are we really already like at that point?" And then it was like somebody who was fake. And I was like, I was like, okay. I was like, so that's like them trying to embrace the lore to make money, because small towns are not as, they don't flourish as well as the bigger towns do now. And so that part I thought was fine. And then like when they, by the time they get back to where they're staying and they interact with that lady again, I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, there's something else going on. I don't think it's just that simple, because like their whole interaction completely turned around after that.
Yeah.
And but I thought it was really cool. I loved the cult stuff, because I think it's just like, I don't know, that kind of stuff's just super interesting to me. But I liked it. I thought it was kind of silly, but at the same time, like I don't know, like it just kind of worked for me.
it's
The
just
cult
crazy.
aspect of this, what's that, Joe?
Mhm.
Uh, the cult aspect that you speak of, Angel, is interesting to me too, because that's
Yeah.
real. There's people
Yes.
out there that are in
Yes.
cults like this,
Yep.
and they, I mean, the Frogman is silly, but there's cults that are even worse than that. Joe,
Yeah.
when you saw that he tackled that guy in the Frogman costume, were you like, "Oh, it's a guy in a costume," or "Yeah, that makes sense"? I figured.
I I had thought that, because there was no proof that was brought up showing the Frogman, that
Mhm.
by now, small town, they all got to keep this thing going. So
Okay.
you have, when I think George, no, George was the name of the old guy whose
The
granddaughter was
old guy.
missing.
Yeah, yeah.
But the young guy who was running the shop, and they had him dressing up and
Yeah.
jumping around there and standing up as a frog. That by now they were
What a
basically,
gig! By the way, what a gig! I would never want. I don't want to be hanging out in the swamps with all the insects and
No.
reptiles that'll
In
kill
the
you.
dark,
in the
no.
dark, jumping around
Mosquitoes.
in a frog suit, because
Pajamas. Yeah.
and, and
No.
and then you don't, he was lucky that the group didn't have a gun. If it
That's
would have been
true.
some random people out there, like, the
That
fuck
would have
was
been a
that?
twist.
That's a
Yeah.
good
You
Oh
point,
see
shit,
the
a
man.
giant
guy.
frog.
That's a good point. How has that guy not been blasted by a shotgun yet, bro?
Yeah.
So I thought that, when, especially after they tackled him, and he even said, no one's done this before. Like, people just, no one comes running after the frogman and then tackles him.
People normally run the other way.
Right. And maybe, okay, so maybe that was a little funny part there, because that it was kind of funny saying
Yeah.
that, because it's true. No logical listen, if the three of us are out in the woods and we see again, I'm going to repeat this, a giant frog that size, I'm not going with you to tackle it. I'm not even going to be standing behind you at any point in time. So, but when they revealed that the town folk had actually been worshiping this frog, and I will say, I because when they were talking about the sounds, and this
Mhm.
is part of the reason that I have such a great surround sound system hooked up, I went back to the living room and then put it on. And to hearing the chanting, it gave you, I was immersed in the chanting sound as they were going through it. So it
Mhm.
actually intensified the whole big reveal, seeing
Mhm.
the town folk. I too like the twist. I like that, it turns out that they've been actually protecting the frogman, Because if you think about it, that's why they have some town folk dress up in the suit just in case. So that way nobody does harm to the frogman that they're worshiping. That's just my interpretation. This is how movies
Yeah.
are.
The thing with this film, this is kind of where it falters a little bit because they throw all these theories at you, right?
Yeah.
You had mentioned it earlier, Joe. Is he an alien? Is it magic? Is he a wizard? He's a psychic. He's a cryptid. He's got a wand. You know what I'm saying? Is it a part of a cult that's doing this? They throw all these theories at you, and you're like, all right, like what can it be? What is it? It's gonna be something completely different.
Mhm.
We come to find out it's all of the above. Like,
Basically.
to me that was like I was a little too much. Like, all right, so you threw all these theories at, and now we're
Yeah.
trying to decide what it is, but then it's gonna be a whole smorgasbord of all of that. It just
Mhm.
pick a lane, in my opinion, and stick with it because the movie was strong. But then when it gets to like that reveal, which I did like the cult stuff, don't get me wrong, but it's like,
Yeah.
all right, so is he a cryptid? Is he magical? I mean, he's got psychic powers for crying out loud. He could
Yeah.
telepathically make you do things, but then there's this wand that activates him. Yeah, so it's weird. Like, all right, which one is it? I guess it's everything. So that's. I hope. I mean, I don't know. After you guys, mentioned the wand. Other than the post-credit scene, was there any other time they used the wand in the movie?
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, if I don't know if you guys saw, there was a post credit
Yeah.
which was what made me question things is because they were calling his name and he wasn't answering it, and they kept calling his name, and then he takes the wand and holds it. So is now the frogman inside him at that moment?
Yeah, because
Because he's not answering to his name to the
his
stage,
film,
right?
yeah, he made the film to prove Frogman exists, but the
Exactly.
audience took it as he just made another found footage film. They're not
Yep.
taking it seriously. So he's
Yeah.
like, really? All right, I'm gonna
So,
show you Frogman. So he pulls up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, so
That's
what's
what I thought. See,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one because all of a sudden he's sitting there, and like he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna pull out my wand now,
Yeah.
which is still
Yeah.
kind of a weird thing. to do.
It's just I don't know. For me, like I think trust in your fan base and stick with one plausible, like not just the plot, but just one plausible conclusion that's gonna wrap your story nice and tight instead of just
Yeah.
throwing everything out there, but revealing actually it's everything. You decide which one it is. Nah, man, this ain't how it rolls. This ain't how Ricky Grimes roll, bro. Come on, man. I like putting stuff together myself, but when it's
Yeah.
everything, it's kind of hard to believe. It's just you lose that factor of like being so enthralled into the film because all of a sudden now, wait, is he a cryptid? Wait, but there's a wand, but he's got psychic powers, but there is a cult that's worshiping him. What's going on? I don't know, but I other than that though, I did the town. I did like the fact that there was just a bunch of like shysters just
Yeah.
trying to like make money off the local folks, but at the same time they're
Mhm.
worshiping the fuck out of this amphibian. So I like that part of it. But let's go to the closing part, guys. Are you guys ready?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Closing thoughts. Let's rate it. Angel, anything else you want to say? And rate it. You know how we roll. So go for it.
I will say this. I think in terms of like not finalizing what it is, I think it's kind of like a cryptid commentary. I think it's like this concept that, you know, people who are really into cryptids, everybody believes something different. There's dimensional things, there's aliens, there's that they're not real, there's a lot of things that people theorize about all kinds of cryptids, and nobody can agree on any one thing. And so I kind of felt like that was sort of the point, was to be like, well, we can't figure any of it out, so we're going to go with all of it could be possible, but then it also risk of making people go, well, that all sounds ridiculous and I don't want to believe it. So I thought that part was kind of intentional to kind of be like, this is what it's like to talk about cryptids because this is how it is in real life when people discuss it. I mean, you've got people who like write books about this and like apply sciences to, different things that come to cryptids. And so I kind of felt like that was like really why they chose to do like so many different things instead of just picking one thing. Because in the cryptid world, if you pick one thing, you're picking a pretty big fight because there's going to be 50 million people that disagree. Other
And
than
this is
that,
why I'm sorry. This is why
no,
I'm glad you're on the panel tonight because you
yeah.
broke that down beautifully.
Yeah, I think it's and I might be wrong. Maybe they just really couldn't decide but it felt very cryptid to
We'll
have
go
it
with
be so
yours.
ambiguous.
Yeah,
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 that
yeah.
you can't figure it out. Other than that, the only other thoughts I really had is this was a movie that had me a little disengaged about the first half. I was interested with the opening shot of the footage of when Dallas was a kid. I was like, all right, we'll see. But then it was like it took too long. There's like a lull in between when things actually start happening, and so I was worried that I really wasn't gonna like it. But I feel like we mentioned payoff earlier. I feel like it gets there though, and once it gets there, it doesn't stop until it's over. And I think all the things that they did were strong enough that it kind of made the rest not so like dull. um, Other than that, I really liked this one. It's probably not one I would pay to rewatch, but if it was streaming and I might would revisit it, if I just saw it on like Tubi or Shutter or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, if I had to give this a score, you guys do out of 5, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I would probably give this a 4 out of 5. I think really the only weakness for me is that middle lull. And then there's a couple moments where like the relationship dynamics like were weird to me. And I really don't like when people put on fake Southern accents and make people sound stupid. It's such a pet peeve of
Oh,
mine
It
because I live
that
in
is.
was
Georgia,
It is.
obnoxious.
and I
Yeah.
get treated like I'm an idiot because I have an accent, and it's really irritating when people project that into personas. Like I get she's trying to be funny, but as someone who has been treated disrespectfully because I have an accent, I'm super sensitive to that. So it lost a bit of the point for that because I just was like, oh, I hate that so much. That
Yeah.
shit gets on my nerves. And so
That's
anyway, I
a
digress.
great point, by the way. Because if
Yeah,
someone puts on like a fake, like an over the top, like urban or Hispanic accent,
you
oh
feel the
my
same
god,
way.
forget it. Not
Oh
even
yeah.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't get
Well, no.
offended easily, but oh
Hell,
my god,
what
there
was
is
it?
a
Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead? Which one? Which one? What was the white guy that was playing the Spanish guy?
oh, and Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the
When
Dead.
he spoke too, I mean, it's like I'm gonna do every once in a while. We pull this, even though she gave it a 4, but because she's found footage, like found footage for me, I don't flock to it that
Yeah.
often. There's some that I jump to here and there. So for me, as a found footage, this is a 4.
Hmm.
I
Oh, that's
also, I also no, I thought the story was
you set
great.
that up like if we were gonna rate it something lower.
I was thinking the same thing.
I thought he was
No,
gonna
it
go
was
into like a 7.2 or something like that.
no. I mean, because right now, my 5s are obviously, Cloverfield, Paranormal Activity, and Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
So giving this movie a 4, considering it's about frogs, and you guys made me watch a movie about a gigantic fucking frog, while they're before that walking around in the woods where you're immersed in a frog apocalypse of sound. I made it through the movie. I found it enjoyable. The frog didn't look horrible, as Angel said.
Yeah.
Special effects were great. This I probably won't watch it again because
Fair.
but I won't watch it again because I'm just not a fan of frogs.
Yeah.
Viewers. If it would have been actually if it was anything that I was scared of, I won't watch it. Either way, it's a definitely a movie that does deserve a rewatch.
Yeah.
Pick up any little extra nuances because I missed, I guess, what you guys said with
The
with one of
slime.
yeah. But
With the
yeah,
what?
no,
What you
it's
miss?
the slime part. I
Oh
didn't think
yeah,
the
yeah,
slime. I thought it was
Mhm.
more that
yeah,
that the frog had
yeah.
maybe licked them or
You know,
peed
film.
on him, to
They
give him
made
the
it a
word.
point
To show him
to
touching
show
that.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I will say this too in reference to the frog looking good. I'm telling you, if the frog did not look good, this movie would not have
No. You're right.
this would have easily have been a non-watchable film. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
wouldn't be able to watch it.
I clutched my pearls when he came out. It's like,
When this film first started, by the way, I'm an '80s guy. I love vintage. I love VHS.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't
Anything.
think about that. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
opening, like little title sequences, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna love this film because the way it just felt like an old '80s throwback with the
It did.
technologies used for that little intro. But then as the movie went on, they had the they had the old I forgot type of camcorder, let's just say.
Yeah.
It just felt, oh man, this is going to be a great film. But once, like, after that part, and it goes
Mhm.
into like that really obnoxious YouTuber.
God, I thought the movie was going to be filmed that
That-
way.
oh my
I was
gosh,
really
me too.
I
mad.
thought the same
Me too.
thing.
Me too, bro. I was like, and-
I was
hold
like,
on.
Angel, I'm going to hurt you for making me watch a found footage movie that's going to look this way. Go ahead.
No.
Sorry.
But yeah, I just finished praising how I loved the style. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I love. But then when it went to that part, I was like, oh no. But thankfully, it kind of got away from that. But that
did,
part
yeah.
was important to Dallas's character arc within the
Very
film.
important.
But
yes.
the problem I had with this film was Dallas was not likable at all. This character was just not likable. I liked his buddy. Forgot his name already.
Scotty.
Scotty. I like Scotty. Amy again with she was annoying too because
Alright.
that accent.
Hold on.
She was
I do want to say that I get what you're saying. I don't think that she was doing the accent to be obnoxious. I don't think that they were really taking it serious.
No, because Dallas didn't like it either.
right.
Yeah, I was
He's
like,
like, I don't want this
I
in my
don't think they
movie.
were
Would you
taking.
please just stop doing that shit?
To them, they weren't taken serious. You know, they were
Yeah.
just doing this video, and it's just to help with
That's
the video.
that's sort of my point, though, right?
Yeah, I
Because-
know what you're saying.
it's
It's
like-
because they're actually using the stereotype
Yeah.
to make funny of it.
The last thing I want to say, there was one of the guys that interviewed looked like a young Christian Slater, man. I just
Yes.
Oh,
it's in my
yeah.
notes. I was like, that Christian Slater? Did they age him? Holy shit. He looked just like a young Christian Slater. But yeah, okay. The first half of this film, I was not feeling it. But like Angel said, once it ramps up and they get into like the woods or swamp, whatever you want, it has to be something like that.
Yeah.
Then it picks up. And at first I was like, oh man, there's too much camera cutting, too many like abrupt cuts, fancy editing for a found footage. But then you realize, yeah, at the end he put it together.
Yes, and it was a
After the
movie
fact.
that was being played.
So okay, I eased up on that part of it. And I think
Yeah.
the filmmakers, like I said, they showed us the monster consistently, not just a little brief appearance. They showed it. And that's something in found footage that's rare, and I give them a lot of points for that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give it a 3.5. That's my score on this film. Only because I would have given it a 4 if it wasn't for like I didn't like the main protagonist, and that's very important to me. You gotta like
Yeah.
the guy you're following. You can't just like his acquaintances, but not like the guy that the whole movie's structured
It's
around.
about. Yeah.
And the music, I'm sorry, the music's important to me too. That music was, oh my god, I hate that
Yeah.
early 2000, late 90s, 2000, whatever the hell that shit was, bro.
Mhm.
I hate that. I hated that soundtrack. But other than that, man, I enjoyed it.
He's an asshole. So
Yeah.
why did I want to see that the asshole made out in here when
This guy was staying with his sister for like 2 years, and he was,
Oh my
"Ah."
god, yes, that was such an awkward scene. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the guy was like, bro, we gotta
Yes.
talk.
He's like,
we didn't want to put a timeline on it, but it's time you move out.
Yeah, I'm with that guy. All right, bro.
Again, and I was like, jeez.
We did you a solid, but it's been 2 years, bro. Come on. I'm not kicking you out, but I think it's time you start looking. I like the way he
Figure it out,
reframed that. That was pretty cool. All right, well, guys, thank you, Angel, once again. Voices from the Mausoleum. If you haven't checked her out, her and Steve got this awesome channel with tons of content. The link to their channel will be in the description below. So thank you, Angel. I appreciate you coming through.
Of course, thanks for having me.
And of course, Joe the Psychologist, my boy. Yeah, you ready for Planet of the Vampires this weekend?
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, with that being said, I'm Ricky Grimes, Angel, Voices from the Mausoleum, and Joe the Psychologist. Stay good, stay healthy, watch out for them frogs, and most of all, stay scared.